So as we all know, in just a few weeks' time, Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be dropping. And I've given my, opinions on the game.
Why? I don't understand. It's not an Assassin's Creed game.
Enough to the point where I figured I'd put more than enough of my 2 cents into this Viking RPG. So instead, I'm gonna look ahead, bars. I'm gonna look past Valhalla and see what we could get from a potential next entry in this series, or at least what I want to see from the next entry in this series. Can the game re-establish a series identity? Will it just be another good not great RPG? Those questions are pretty up in the air. But what I have in mind for this series, to get this once great franchise back on top of the gaming industry, is abundantly clear. Before we get into the video though, it'd really be appreciated if you could hit like, and also if you're new here, make sure to subscribe with post notifications turned on. And without further ado, let's get into my ideal vision for an Assassin's Creed game. So without a doubt, one of the most important aspects of an Assassin's Creed game, maybe the most important aspect, is the setting. And after years of pining, years of rumour and speculation, yes, I of course think this game should be set in East Asia. Although, Golden Age Amsterdam wouldn't be a bad choice either. But let's get a little more specific here, because although you may all assume what I mean by East Asia is feudal Japan, that's not quite what I've got in mind. And no, unfortunately, I'm not talking about a Xiaoyun game either. Instead, we look to the massively powerful Mongolian Empire-controlled China, and more specifically the city of Kanbalik, the predecessor to modern Beijing. The year 1310, the peak of power for the Yuan dynasty in China, almost a century after the death of infamous ruler Genghis Khan, and with that, decades after the legendary assassin Altair ibn La'ahad travelled through Mongolia and helped establish the assassin order there. We enter Kanbalik to see a brotherhood fully built, a brotherhood thriving within China, as we take the shoes of a lowly assassin foot soldier, who I'll give the name Ying for the sake of this video. Yes, we aren't taking the shoes of any prophet here, no descendants of Isu, and certainly no eagle-bearing Misthios. Instead, we are simply an average assassin recruit, making his way up the ranks of the Brotherhood and carrying out often menial tasks for the sake of the Creed. And for the first sequence of the game, that's exactly what we do, building up the relationships of Ying and his fellow assassins as we watch them steal documents, save prisoners, and kill corrupt Mongol guards. At first, all seems well, and this first sequence sets up the idea of Ying working his way up the ranks to potentially become a mentor of sorts after years of dedication to the Brotherhood. But all that stopped abruptly at the end of sequence 1, when tragically a battalion of Mongol soldiers, of Templar soldiers, stormed the assassin headquarters, slaughtering every assassin in their path, burning down the headquarters, destroying all remnants of the Brotherhood in Kanbalik. And finally, we see the mentor of the Brotherhood brutally beheaded. The scene would be horrific to witness, as Ying throughout this entire time attempts to fight off Templar soldiers to no avail, being knocked out in the chaotic midst of battle and collapsing under a pile of his friends' bodies. As Ying awakens, pushing the corpses of his former brothers-in-arms off of himself, he comes to a realization. The entire headquarters, every single one of his mentors and friends, of his fellow assassins, are dead. And he immediately realizes that he needs to escape Kanbalik before the Templars return. Escaping the city just and no more, with nothing but his life and his hidden blade, Ying knows what he has to do. Seek out assassins throughout China if they haven't already been killed themselves, and ensure the Brotherhood, ensure the Creed survives. From here we see this humble foot soldier be tasked with rebuilding the Brotherhood, again similarly to A.K.A. in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. The difference is, this guy isn't a prophet, isn't a descendant of the gods, he's just a simple assassin, with no idea of how to lead, of how to form a Brotherhood, an aspect that could lead to a variety of new character aspects never seen in the games, such as a feeling of imposter syndrome, a sense of unworthiness to suddenly be thrust into such massively important position. Ying would go on to travel around various parts of China to find the assassins almost wiped out across the entire country, and so in various villages and cities, he'd help the people, he'd recruit new assassins, and he'd build the Brotherhood back up, along the way assassinating various Templars. In this way, the game would create a unique spin on what's come before, as instead of simply building the Brotherhood from the ground up, Ying's tasked with single-handedly saving what Altair created all those years ago, an enormous pressure put on one man's back, as he has the weight of his friends' dead corpses tearing him down throughout the entire game. The key to this story though would be the intrapersonal relationships our character faces. Since you're rebuilding the Brotherhood, you get to witness and control the entire hierarchy of it. You grant your assassins ranks, and using some of the AI systems from games like Watch Dogs Legion, you could have a fully fledged cast of assassin characters that you have to manage and lead. This would ideally be a blend of the settlement system we see in Valhalla and the Brotherhood system from Assassin's Creed Brotherhood Revelations and 3, as you're left to manage egos and deal with conflicts of interest within the Brotherhood, potentially having some systems of minor choice integrated into these encounters. The amount of possibilities this could provide for storylines, for elements of micromanagement, for subplots to appear are nearly endless, and it integrates a political side of the Assassin Order that we've seen to be massively intriguing in the past. Gameplay wise, if you know me at all, I really care about movement, and this game would massively focus on replenishing those systems, with a parkour system similar to Unity's being brought back and improved upon, allowing for greater levels of player control and variety. Combat would ideally be made up of slow, defensive encounters, as this version of the Brotherhood that you create will be very similar to the Levantines, focusing heavily on hiding in plain sight, on disappearing within crowds, in some ways being ghosts among men, and so our character's combat abilities would be limited. Bow and arrows could play a heavy role, as new and improved black box missions would create massive open spaces with countless assassination possibilities, whether it be shooting a target through a cracked open window, or using your assassin recruits to distract the target while you snuck up behind him. The world, of course, would return to massive sprawling cities built for quality movement, but we'd also see plenty of smaller, humble villages where the key to moving around is truly by using the people, blending in with the average villagers and farmers. Because you are the last survivor of the Templar attacks, the entire world will have a haunting presence, similar to Assassin's Creed 1, as every guard will be cautious and wary, and you'll never truly feel safe or anonymous. This means even more focus on stealth, on keeping a low profile, on taking each mission slowly and precisely, as opposed to running in swords blazing. Customization wise, preferably the bare set of assassin robes are present throughout the entire game, although I'm not averse to adding various different armor types or extra fabric. The key is that all of that customization should be in addition to the base robes, as to preserve an iconic character with an iconic outfit. The main story would consist of unique, varied missions, eliminating essentially all filler fort assaults and raids present in Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla. Side content, however, would be far more akin to the previous games, although slightly more varied. Ideally, most of the side content would be built around a system similar to the Cultist system in Odyssey, but of course, far more in depth. The idea of Templar hierarchy is one that I've always appreciated. The idea that the Order of Templars is not just made up of these grand villains, but also these lieutenants, these soldiers. And so the side content would be built as a pyramid of sorts, with low-rank Templar assassinations being a fairly large bulk of the content. These missions would be fairly simple, and would be the way the character slowly chips away at Templar influence throughout China, as through these missions he could recruit new assassins, gain new equipment, and most importantly, gain wealth. The return of a true economy system present in the earlier games would be absolutely essential for this ideal game. A true economy system, not simply buying and selling various items, but truly managing the finances of not just yourself, but the entire Brotherhood. Whether it be buying or building new boroughs to spread the order, buying high quality gear for your recruits, renovating various buildings and businesses to gain alliances, all of it would be key to rebuilding the Assassin Order and reducing Templar influence. The second tier of Templar assassinations would be somewhat more in depth, with genuine characters being built up that maintain control of various sections of China, similar to, as much as I hate to say this, the Lieutenant system in Mafia 3. These missions would usually comprise of mini black box missions, with an open area provided to the player to take down their target however they pleased. Although they wouldn't have white rooms, we'd understand these Templars and their schools of thought, why they do what they do, and most importantly, why they need to be taken down. And then we have the highest tier of Templar, which would only be present in the main story. Each a major official, a politician, a military officer, a tradesman, whatever it may be. These Templars would be implemented essentially the same way they are in Assassin's Creed 1, with white rooms for them to confess their guilt, but also to blur the lines between the Assassins and Templars, to show the balance the two orders provide each other. Story-wise, let me be clear, I am by no means a great writer. At least, not yet. But as long as the game doesn't fall into the sphere of just another revenge story, I think it'd work, providing something new to the series with a less significant but no less interesting character, filled with insecurities but determined to fight for the Creed, fight for his friends, fight for his country, and fight for what he truly believes in. So that is my vision for an ideal Assassin's Creed game. But I do know that this is just the opinion of one hardcore fan. I know that there's plenty of other fans out there that all have unique visions inside their own head. So make sure to comment down below and tell me what you think of my idea, as well as let me know what your ideal Assassin's Creed game would be. If you did enjoy the video, it'd really be appreciated if you could hit like. It does only take 5 seconds, less than that, and it does really help me out. Also, if you're new here and want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe with post notifications turned on. Twitter and Patreon links are also in the description below, as well as a link to my Discord, the Nest Discord, featuring Walshie. I assume you all know him. With all that being said though, I've been Joe, aka Found a Scarab, and I'll see you in the next one.